Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I want to talk about Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition and why I think at no point in Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition or in Dungeons & Dragons 6th Edition will Wizards of the Coast be able to take Dwarves and Elves out of the game. Alright, so let's get into it. I do think that Wizards of the Coast, Hasbro, would like to take Dwarves and Elves out of the game. The reason why is, unfortunately, they're trying to set up a situation where they have lineages in the game. But iconically, Dwarves and Elves are in Dungeons & Dragons, and there are just many players who consider that if Dwarves and Elves are not in Dungeons & Dragons, it's not Dungeons & Dragons, right? And Dungeons & Dragons wants to make sure that players can recognize the game as Dungeons & Dragons, right? So why can't you take them out? Well, I watched a show this weekend. It was called Without Remorse. It was made by Amazon. It was written by Tom Clancy, and it starred Michael B. Jordan from Creed and also from Black Panther. Amazing actor. Michael B. Jordan was fantastic in this movie. It was incredibly poorly written. Not by Tom Clancy, because I can tell you right now, I've read Tom Clancy stuff. It's clear as day. I understood it. Whatever they put up on Amazon was not written by Tom Clancy. I don't even need to look it up. I know for that for a fact, right? Because it was not clear. So I didn't like this show, and the reason I really didn't like this show was specifically because I didn't understand why any of the characters were doing what they were doing. So the movie starts with Michael B. Jordan as a soldier, a U.S. American soldier in Aleppo, Syria. He's supposed to do an exfiltration. That's the opposite of an infiltration, right? His team of U.S. soldiers are upset when they find out that they're exfiltrating a Russian soldier, right? Now, I'm like, what's happening in Aleppo, Syria? Why does America need to be there? What's happening? I don't understand, right? Then they compound my confusion by saying there are Russian soldiers in Aleppo, Syria. I have no idea why Russian soldiers are in Aleppo, Syria, and I also have no idea why American soldiers would care if Russian soldiers are in Aleppo, Syria, right? So here's a multi-million-dollar project that was scuttled and really is quite skippable because it doesn't make any sense. When you watch Without Remorse, you have no idea why anybody on the screen is doing anything they're doing. You don't understand people's motivations. You don't understand the conflict. But when you look at Dwarves and Elves in Dungeons & Dragons, you understand the conflict immediately. Dwarves, mountains, they will burn forests to forge another magical sword, right? Elves, they live in the forest. They love the forest, right? When a tree is chopped to the ground, they're wondering if that tree was a dryad, right? Their conflict is inherently understood, right? Like you say, one dwarf, one elf, they don't like each other, right? Because the elves love forests, right? They love everything about the forests. They consider the forest sacred, right? Dwarves will chop an forest down and burn every log just to forge one more magical item in their mountain forges. The conflict is understood. It's there. It's inherent. It's natural. It makes sense. It's right there, right? And so that's the issue. And the thing is, unfortunately, you have to execute perfectly on these stories. Nobody wants villains they don't understand. Nobody wants conflicts they don't understand, right? I was ready. I turned on Without Remorse the second it was available. And the reason why is I wanted to see Michael Jordan excel, right? Also, I know Tom Clancy, right? And when Tom Clancy wrote a novel, he was like, Russians are the villains, Americans are the heroes. Let's do it, right? And in this thing, because it's put out by because there's a million cooks in the kitchen, right? And we have these international agreements now, you can't tell the good guys from the bad guys, right? And so, in my opinion, we've arrived at a place where this is happening, right? Where we have this situation where it's really not clear at all who your villains are, why the conflicts are occurring. And I think in Dungeons & Dragons, they're not going to be able to get rid of Dwarves and Elves. They're not going to be able to make these. They're not going to turn, dwarves into mountain curmudgeons, and they're not going to be able to turn elves into leaf children. It's just not going to work. It's a load-bearing wall. You can't pull it out. That's my opinion. What do you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.